You're most welcome back to Matchbook's weekend football podcast. And it was a good weekend last weekend, man. It was a good weekend. Adrian Clarke, I don't know why you shaved the beard off, though, because I'm just sensing that this could be the turn of some bad luck for us this weekend, mate. Well, what's the story? We had it down to a T, and now you go and shave your beard.
Yeah, I shouldn't have interfered, should I? It was definitely the lucky beard. Yeah, no, it's it was a slight little accident with the trimmer. So I had to whip it all off, I'm afraid. It'll only take me about 2 months. It's fine.
All right. Mark O'Haire, terrific weekend. I've just brought it up on screen there. If you listen to this audio, I'll just repeat them out. City and Man United under 3, Chelsea, Everton under 2.5, Southampton to win, Morecambe, draw no bet at 2.01, Atletico, Real Madrid under 2.5, Betis on Monday night. West Ham, your best bet, Adrian, also on Monday night. And Bayern, even though they gave Dortmund a full 2-goal starts after 9.5 minutes, Mark O'Haire, that still came up, and Bayern are still Bayern.
Yeah, it was two of my better bets there had to come from 2 goals behind, including Betis on Monday night. But the Bayern game was interesting, really. I was kind of cursing my luck really in the first 10 minutes. Haaland scoring 2 goals, just so clinical machine he is, and but then Dortmund stopped playing, which was exactly what helped Bayern really. They just went into their shells, and Bayern being Bayern were eventually going to knock the door down. It might have taken 80 minutes or so to get those 3rd and 4th goals, but thankfully they came in.
Yeah, I texted you at half time on that one. The price was back to about 1.93. And I honestly thought it was a better bet then after watching the last 20 minutes of that first half where we just knew that. But yeah.
As I said, if Bayern were to score before half time, the bet was massively on because as we saw, it was the case. So yeah, happy days. Yeah. Good weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good weekend, Mark. And you said it last week. Sometimes we were getting any other business right. Sometimes we're getting the Premier League right, but we just merged it. You guys merged it last week, and great stuff all around. Exciting times at Matchbook. We have a brand new sign-up offer to tell you guys about, and it's a pretty big one for the month of March and a couple of weeks of April as well. 0% commission on all sports if you sign up at matchbook.com today using the bonus code INSIGHTS. So that's 0% commission on all sports. To be honest, when you do open an account now, it's pretty low at 2% net win, but it's 0% commission if you sign up until the 12th of April using bonus code INSIGHTS. That's for new customers only. And as ever, please do gamble responsibly at all times. Right, let's get down to it. We're starting with Manchester United and West Ham on a Sunday night kickoff. Bring up the betting now. Mark, I'll come to you here first for this one. What have we got? Manchester United at just under 1.9 there. West Ham at 4.55. The draw available at 3.68. West Ham getting a half a goal start on the Asian handicap 2.04 and 2.5 is the total, slightly tilted towards the over. Right, Mark. I mean, Manchester United. We predicted it would go under 2.5. We didn't, however, predict probably Manchester United a clean sheet in this one. 2-0 win on Sunday, obviously. They're very impressive, but they have been this way against the bigger boys. This season, being against PSG and Man City and a couple of other teams, they don't seem to lose against the bigger boys. But can they take the initiative at home to West Ham on Sunday night?
Yeah, it's a conundrum really, because I look at that Man United price, and on first glance, I really want to be with United, and that's quite rare for me on this show. It's very rare I actually put United up in the 1x2, I think, as well, because the prices don't always appeal to me. But seeing them at almost 1.9 looks big, and I did some digging, and it is big. They went off at 164 against Everton, 145 against Southampton, 175 against Villa team, who are in really good form going into that game at Old Trafford. I think it was around December time, was it? And 157 against Wolves. Similar-ish kind of standard sides, you'd say, to West Ham, or similar in terms of tactically and their approach. So I guess what's holding me back from pulling the trigger? Well, United play Europa League football on Thursday night in quite a prestigious game against Milan at Old Trafford. Their priority will be the Premier League and sewing up top 4. But, I want to see the team sheets, because Solskjaer's had a weird habit of doing some weird things with his starting 11s in the Europa League. Look back to the last round, they were 4-0 up after the first leg against Sociedad, and he fielded Fernandes and a few other first-team players before a weekend game against Chelsea. And I thought they paid for that against Chelsea, because they did look a little bit laboured for it. So you look back to a few other occasions this season, and United haven't been fantastic at following up sort of European ties with good performances in the Premier League. So I don't think West Ham are the ideal opponents to play after a busy midweek. I've said that before, I think, against the Tottenham match. And West Ham, you look at their form since September, just 5 defeats in 25. I guess it should be said that those defeats came against Liverpool, United, Chelsea and City. So they do tend to fall short against the elite. But they were in control in that first half against United before United brought Bruno on at half-time and changed the tide, really. They're also about Lingard as well, which is obviously a bit of a blow because he's been playing really well. Antonio is fit, which is a bonus. But yeah, I kind of guessed I've given you kind of both sides of the argument there, and it's kind of where I want to sit here, because I do want to back United at 1.9 or just around that mark. But their recent form, regardless of beating City in the Premier League, is just 4 wins from 11, which kind of surprised me, really. 4 wins from 13 against the top half. I just wonder whether splitting the difference and taking the draw might be the smartest route here, because it does sound like a bit of a cop-out, but Thursday night right now is a bit of a bearing for me against United. I just want to see how seriously they take that game against Milan. In theory, the priority should be this match on Sunday night, but again, I go back to the price, which is at the end of the day, that the most important element of whatever we do here, and I think United at 1.89 does appeal.
Yeah. Adrian, come on, send us over the edge here. We're back in Manchester United. What's rare is wonderful.
I'm not so sure. I want to see how they fare against Milan.
Yeah,
I do.
okay.
Look, if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer mixes and matches against AC Milan, a trophy they can win. Remember, he's still waiting to win a first trophy as Manchester United boss. This is a great opportunity. I think they're favourites for the competition. United, I don't see him not taking the Milan game seriously, and you look at Milan's record on the road this season, and they're very strong. So I think this is going to be a really hard game for Manchester United on Thursday night, and it's how they respond to that. West Ham, of course, will have had a longer break, played on Monday, saw off Leeds. Bit fortunate, they rode their luck a little bit in the second half, but they're still a really good team. And I'll go back to the performance against Manchester City that I covered, and they were the better team against Manchester City. They were really good on the counter-attack. Obviously, Lingard knitted it together, but I don't believe he's irreplaceable. They've got other guys. Jarrod Bowen, for instance, will likely come in for him. I don't think that's much of a downgrade. I think West Ham have the tools to sit in, frustrate United, as they have been at times at home this season, and hit them on the break. So, and in Antonio, he's a massive handful. So I think it'll be an even game. We saw them in the FA Cup, didn't we? I think there was obviously a little bit of rotation, but it was on a terrible game, absolute stinker. But United scraped it in extra time. So I do see where Mark's coming from with the draw. The one that appealed to me is West Ham plus half a goal, because then you've obviously got the draw on side with West Ham. So if you think Manchester United will slip up, then you can get just above even money, 2.04, and West Ham plus half a goal. So yeah, it is a hard game to call. I think it will be close. I think it will be one goal either way. And yeah, it depends on your mood. I get Mark's feeling here with Manchester United at that price. It is attractive, and they've only lost once, by the way, in the Premier League. Since the Arsenal game at home, 1-0 against Arsenal in November, lost against Sheffield United. In between, but they haven't lost, so they've been very solid, Manchester United. But I think this is a game that they could lose. I'll be honest, with West Ham being fresher. So yeah, I don't know where that leaves us with our pick for this game.
I know exactly where it leaves us, and that's not a great place. But I think splitting the difference here, we might just take a small bet on the draw. I think there's just too much uncertainty there. I think it's like a half unit play at 3.68. It's not a bad bet. I see both sides of the argument here. And United
West Ham, by the way, have led Manchester United at half-time in each of their last 3 meetings in the Premier League. So they've given Manchester United problems. They've only gone on to win one of those. But they're the sort of team that can cause them problems. And for me, Manchester United are a better team on the road than they are at Old Trafford, even though of late they've started to score goals there. So yeah, it's a really interesting game. It's one of those, just chuck it up in the air and see where they land.
Absolutely. Let's take a small bet in the draw. Before we come off this, Adrian, just talk to me about 4 clean sheets on the bones for Manchester United. Centre half partnership, we've given that back four a lot of slack in the first couple of weeks of the season anyway, but they looked really impressive on Sunday. We got to give some credit there, yeah?
It was a brilliant performance against Manchester City, yeah. But it wasn't just about the centre-backs. It was about defending as a team. I thought the strategy from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at City was spot on. They negated those attacking midfielders really well. The two midfielders did great. I thought the forwards defended excellently from the front. And they were really snappy and assertive. And it just makes you wonder, why don't they play with that kind of clear game plan every single week?
Yeah, that's frustrating.
It's kind of frustrating. But look, I'm still not sold on Maguire and Lindelof as a partnership. I don't think it's sensational. I think Luke Shaw's been brilliant. Wan-Bissaka, we know, is a tidy defender. So look, I think it'll be a low scoring game, under 2.75, 1.813 the last time I looked. Quite appealing for anyone that watched the FA Cup meeting. But yeah, I think probably the draw, a small play on the draw is decent.
All right. Yeah, let's lock it in. It's not going to be our biggest bet by any means, I'd suggest, this week, but that's okay too. Adrian, stay with you here first. Obviously, North London Derby is what we're looking at next. Arsenal at home to Tottenham. Betting pretty tight here. Arsenal slight favourites 2.62, Tottenham 2.88. The draw is available at 3.52. It's pretty much draw no bet, even handicap here, plus 0.0. Arsenal favourites here, of course, just under 1.89. The total is 2.5. Right, Adrian? What you think? Well, I mean, Tottenham have been impressive the last couple of weeks, haven't they? I mean, you're one of your only losing bets last week was Tottenham to win 2-0. I thought it was quite unlucky. Like, I know Palace had a chance.
Only one effort, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go. Like, and I mean, look, Tottenham, as you kind of predicted, blew them away in the second half.
Yeah. I think they were always going to win the game. I just didn't see Palace scoring. I don't think anyone that watched the game did until they actually until Benteke leapt like a salmon. It's about the only thing they did in that game, Palace. Now Spurs are doing great. Obviously, an easier run of fixtures. It'll be fascinating to see the team selection. I'm imagining Jose will continue with this bolder strategy, and by bold I mean he's basically playing 4 out-and-out forwards: Kane, Son and Bale either side, and either Moura or Ali in behind. They're 4 strikers, really, in terms of finishing ability, in terms of their goal-getting prowess. It makes sense because Spurs don't have great creators, and they're not going to carve out many chances playing the way that they do. But if you get 4 goal scorers at the top end of the pitch, you've always got a chance. So that, I think, is dangerous for Arsenal in this game. They'll have to learn lessons from the first game. I mean, it was as if Arsenal had never seen Spurs play under Jose Mourinho in the derby. If you cast your mind back, caught out by 2 full-pitch counter-attacks, leaving space for Son to run into on the break. They have to clearly learn from that. The history books say that Spurs very, very rarely win this game. 2 times in 35 meetings have Spurs won at the Emirates. Now that's a strong statistic, and Arsenal are improving. And when you look at Tottenham's record on the road, obviously they won at Manchester United 6-1, didn't they, earlier on in the season? Unbelievable result. Since then, away from home, they've beaten no one in the top 13. So they've not been sparkling away from Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So I give Arsenal a real chance here in a pretty even game. The odds tell you it's an even game. Arsenal are better against the top sides this year, no doubt about that. They're staying in matches, and I think these are 2 fairly cautious coaches by nature as well. So I think there will be an element of cat and mouse here. I don't think it'll be an end-to-end basketball game by any stretch of the imagination. So where does that leave us? I think it leaves us with the draw being a decent shout at 3.52. I think the last time I looked, but for me, I've seen enough of Arsenal to suggest that they can learn from their mistakes and at least not lose this game. So yeah, Arsenal draw no bet would appeal to me. I think it's just shy of 1.9. 2 out of 35. Spurs have won at Emirates. So if you're going on historical odds, which I know that Mark doesn't like to do because it's about the numbers here and now, then that's a pretty solid play. I just haven't been quite as blown away by Spurs' form of late as maybe some people, because I think you have to take it into account, the opposition.
Yeah, Mark O'Haire, what's the market telling you here? Is there any bit of value for you? Adrian likes Arsenal drawn a bet. Well, what about you? I've muted yourself, Ned. Mute yourself. You can unmute yourself. No problem.
There's always one of us, isn't it? Yeah, I think it's a difficult one to sort of size up again. The Premier League is very hard to sort of eke out a value angle, which is you can really get behind. I thought it was quite interesting because we talked about Arsenal with the rest disadvantage going to Leicester and playing really well, and they made a much changed team in that environment too. Similar sort of thing coming into this weekend. Arsenal are in Greece on Thursday. Spurs play at home to Dynamo Zagreb, so little to no travel, softer opponents as well. Probably a bit more opportunity there to rest and rotate. But that kind of discounts the importance of a North London derby, of which there's plenty really. I just think this league game might have slightly more importance for Spurs though. They're 5 points off the top four, Arsenal are 12. Obviously when they met in December, as Adrian said, Arsenal got kind of Mourinho'd. I wouldn't expect them to fall into the same trap again, but I do expect a bit more from both teams really in an attacking sense. I'm not saying it's going to be back to the sort of the glory days of the late 90s, early noughties, where we were getting 2-2s and 4-2s and 4-3s. But I'm hoping it might be a little bit more entertaining. Mourinho has released the shackles a little bit tactically and with his team selection, bringing those players in from the cold. They've all made an impact as well. And I think you go back to the game, probably half-time-ish against West Ham after a Europa League game where they were sort of battered in that first half and came really out of their shell in the second half. And they've kind of continued that since then. And I know the schedule has been kind, but if you do take into account the home advantage has eroded quite a lot this year, Spurs have won more games, scored more goals than Arsenal have at the Emirates in the Premier League. So I give Spurs a slight edge here. Whether it's enough to take Spurs plus a quarter at 173-ish, probably not, to be fair. And I do think the draw is probably the better of the angles in terms of 1x2 or handicaps. But I just thought both teams to score. If you can get 175 or bigger, I kind of like that because Arsenal still have their inconsistencies. We saw that at Burnley last weekend, giving away a goal. But they're starting to settle now as an attacking force. Odegaard's finding his place. Saka's playing brilliantly. Smith Rowe should be fit. And certainly since Christmas, they've been much more fluent and willing to attack teams going forward. If you look at the last 12 games, Arsenal ranked third for expected goals generated, second for XG open play output. And in that sequence, they faced City, United, Leicester, Villa, Wolves and Brighton. Probably some of the best defences in the Premier League so far this season. So I do expect them to score, but I just think if Spurs, and it all depends on team sheets again, obviously, if Spurs take that same approach as they have done recently, I do think they can get to Arsenal and get a goal themselves. So I wouldn't be put off by the draw, both teams to score. And if you want something bigger, just a 1-1 correct score, something like that, to be honest. But,
I can definitely jump on board with that. I think both teams are likely to score. I don't see it being a 3-2 or anything like that, but the 1-1 would be my pick. If I was to pick a score, then that would be the most likely. Attack is definitely the strength of both teams. I don't think either are completely trustworthy at the back. But on the rest and rotation, it worked great at Leicester, didn't it? And it's going to be so hard for Arteta not to go with his strongest team in the North London derby. Yeah. But I do believe that Arsenal, take off my red and white sort of blinkers here. I think Arsenal have more depth. They have more ability to rotate in forward areas than Spurs do. Spurs, they can't really take Kane and Bale out at the same time and be okay. Arsenal can take out one or two of their forwards and bring in a Lacazette and a Pepe, and they'll be just as dangerous. So yeah, I'm not so worried about it. It's incredibly unfair that they're being made to go to Athens when there's no crowd. Why can't two games be played in North London on the same day? I just don't understand that at all. The logic of it puts them at a disadvantage.
All right. That market isn't up yet at Matchbook, but it will be a bit closer to kick off. But looking at the general guide price market, I think you will get 1.75 now, unless the over is hammered into in the meantime. But that looks a pretty solid play. Like that one. All right. Mark, your choice this week, Leeds United against Chelsea. And all I want to know is what price Chelsea are to win 1-0, because I think it's going to be about 9 or 10 to 1. So that's all I'm going to be backing anyway. Leeds United here at 4.75. Chelsea available just under 1.77. The draw is available at 4.05. Leeds getting a 3/4 goal start on the Asian handicap at 1.9, and the total is a kind of a middling one at 2.75, slightly shaded towards the under I think it's been like 18 games by the time since Leeds have had a draw. So I don't think we're backing that. Mark O'Haire, but there's a general theme with these Chelsea results 11 games into the Tuchel regime, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. I'm backing Chelsea here. I'll go straight out with it, to be honest. It's one of my better bets in the Premier League this week. I think the prices are absolutely fair enough. I think there might be a bit of margin in the price, so we could be able to get 1.8.
Yeah,
certainly that's where the market is at, and I think that's a very, very appealing price to me in this game. I don't want to go over old ground because we've covered it many, many times with Chelsea in recent weeks, but they're now playing with a plan. They're playing with a control and precision, which is almost engulfing opponents, giving them very, very little to feed off. They've got the quality, not just in the starting 11, but to be able to rest and rotate and bring off the bench as well, which makes me quite interesting for next season if they continue in this upward trajectory. And I think they'll just be too smart, too wise, too street smart for Leeds. They were excellent in the reverse game when Leeds were kind of buzzing earlier in the season, and Chelsea did a bit of a job on them under Lampard. But ultimately, this comes down to Leeds and their approach, and almost just not changing for anyone, and ultimately being outclassed by the elite teams. If you look at their record against teams in, they've taken 24 points against teams in the bottom 8, and they've taken 11 points against teams in the top 12. So that's 0.65 points against the top 12 and 2.4 points per game against the bottom 8. And look, I'm not stupid enough to know that playing harder teams, better teams, it's going to be more difficult to pick up points and victories, of course. But it's just the fact that those raw results are kind of underpinned by a quite alarming kind of underlying process as well. It just kind of goes to show that Leeds, when they do meet the top teams, do tend to get outthought and outplayed, really. They're currently ranking as a mid-table team across all my major metrics, pretty much bang in line with their league performance. But their defensive performances just skyrocket against the Big Six and Leicester. In those 8 games, they're averaging almost 3 expected goals against, over 2 non-penalty expected goals per game, 35% XG ratio. So they've been fantastic fun. I absolutely adore Marcelo Bielsa. I think what he's done with that club is quite phenomenal, really. And he's getting a lot of bad press because he's getting so much good press. People almost trying to counteract it, really. But you have to admire his approach, his mentality. He's got a team with basically half a dozen standard championship players competing really well in the Premier League. So, you've got to give him kudos for that. But ultimately, his approach is going to prove Leeds' downfall in these kind of big games. I just think Chelsea will be too smart. At 1.8, I think they're a really nice, attractive price to win this match.
Adrian, what do you think of their marks? Very bullish on the Blues. It's hard not to be, by the way, isn't it? Like, they have been very impressive the last couple of weeks.
Just as bullish. Yeah, I think it's one of the bets of the weekend. Chelsea, no doubt about it. They've obviously got that ability to rotate without weakening their side, which is something Leeds can't do, that's for sure. And most Premier League teams don't have that same depth that the Blues do. I'm seeing big improvements. Obviously, we know that they're barely giving a shot away, but it's not just about keeping the ball at the moment. We're seeing more penetration, longer passes coming into play. They look a more dangerous side, finding different ways to create chances. I just thought they were mega impressive, really, against Liverpool and Everton. Leeds will commit bodies forward. We know that. And Leeds will be quaking in their boots every time there's a wide free kick or a corner. And Chelsea, a little bit like West Ham last weekend, as we talked about, they're one of the strongest. Chelsea are fantastic from set plays. And I just feel that that's one avenue. Pace on the counter. I think that Werner has a good chance to sort of get back into the groove in this game. Leeds just don't change. And I feel that they might meet their match going forward here. I don't think Chelsea will offer up too many gilt-edged chances. I just think they're a level above Chelsea. For me, the second best team in the country at the moment. And I think they win. 1.8-ish is a great price. I think even, put plus 3/4 of a goal was just above even money, wasn't it, as well? They could win with something to spare as well if you wanted to be bolder.
Yeah, I just wonder, and I'm not the first person to ponder this, is that if Chelsea hadn't made that change at the start of the season and gone with Tuchel, obviously things were good enough for Lampard or whatever else, you'd wonder. And also, I know this one for the Champions League pod next week, Mark, but I backed them at 16.0 during the week for the Champions League. that might be a bit of a value bet as well. Obviously, they have to play next week against Atletico, but I'm just putting it in there now, just in case anyone comes back and says you're after playing me. So yeah, you can still get plenty of 16.0 around the place on Chelsea to win the Champions League. That's my bet. Anyway. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on. Wolves and Liverpool. This is your choice, Mr. Clark. So I'll come to you for this one. Wolves, you can get back at 4.9. This is a Monday night kickoff, by the way. Liverpool 1.8, fresh from that win in Budapest in midweek. 3.8 to the draw. Wolves getting 3/4 goal, starting the Asian handicap of 1.9, and the total is 2.5. And look, Adrian, if Liverpool were playing Julian Nagelsmann, Leipzig side every week, they'd be top of the league and pulling away, but they don't. So how do we differentiate that form and the form that we've seen at Anfield in recent weeks, and most recently on Sunday with that one in loss to Fulham?
Yeah, exactly. They're just such a conundrum at the moment, aren't they? Liverpool. It's really weird. What you saw against Leipzig was the Liverpool that we've grown to expect, and in the Premier League at home, they've just been like just unrecognisable. The away form has been more solid. Now, I don't know whether I can go back Liverpool. It's a pretty short price at Molineux to go there and win, given how bad they've been in the Premier League. But I loved what I saw with Jota back in the team. He came on, didn't he, against Fulham and definitely pepped up the attack. He was excellent against Leipzig. I think it was a bit of a crossroads moment in terms of ending the Fabinho experiment at centre-half, putting him back into central midfield in Leipzig, and Klopp afterwards talking about that position, and he asked him, look, this is your position, isn't it? And he's like, yeah. I don't see Fabinho dropping back now. I think that might be a turning point. And I think with him in there and Thiago and Wijnaldum, that gives Liverpool a much better look in that all-important engine room. So I do think they are capable of winning this game. It's just whether you want to back them at that price. It still leaves them a little bit questionable at the back, doesn't it? Obviously, Phillips and Kabak did really well the other night, but no matter who they field at the moment at centre half, you do sense they'll be slightly vulnerable. And Wolves, I like Neto. I really like Neto. I think he's a terrific player. Wolves are very strong as well from set pieces, and even though down the years they've been involved in a lot of low scoring games at Molineux, it's kind of changed a little bit this season. We've seen a lot more examples of both teams scoring. It's happened in 62% of games at Molineux this season, which I don't have the stats to hand for last year, but it wouldn't be anywhere near that. 62% of the games. And I just think Liverpool, bit of a new mojo going forward with Jota, certainly capable of scoring against Wolves, who they're not as good as they were last year. I still feel that Liverpool have vulnerability. So for me, both teams to score. I think you gave me a guide price of 1.9 here, Mark. I think that's I think that's the best way to go. But I would side with Liverpool winning this one.
Mark, I know this probably wasn't one of your strongest games, but do you have any thoughts to add into what Adrian had there?
He's covered a lot of what I would have talked about, really. Just the conundrum of not knowing which Liverpool team are going to turn up, really. And also how they're going to approach this game, because the high press and the high line has just been exposed. It was exposed by Fulham, and that worries me if they come into this game with a high line as well, because Wolves have got the pace to run in behind and cause them problems. So I think they can cause this Liverpool team problems. It's just what Liverpool team are going to turn up, because I think Klopp didn't completely admit, but he kind of hinted that the Champions League is now the focus. And we saw that in midweek with a really focused performance and a really impressive performance. And this game being Monday night does allow them that time to recover. And also, I think it's worth bearing in mind that next weekend is FA Cup weekend. There are a couple of league games, but Liverpool aren't playing. So basically, this is their last game now for about 2 or 3 weeks, really, with the international break coming up. So there's no need for them to make mass changes. They can go their best 11 and really go all out for the match, because knowing they'll be rested for a few weeks thereafter. So I think that needs to be taken into account. It's not yet at this stage, but Wolves and certain teams around their sort of area will be getting to the stage of being on the beach soon. I don't think this is it, and I do think Wolves will be keen to at least put on a good show, and they have tended to be pretty difficult opponents for the top teams, even this season still, beaten only 4 times at Molineux. They've taken 4 points off Chelsea, held Leicester here, put in a brave showing against City, suffered narrow defeats against United and Leicester as well. So I don't think they'll be overawed particularly, but I think it's probably their last hurrah where you probably want to get them on side before they kind of look towards next season. So yeah, it's a bit of a tough one for me, but I do like the idea of both teams to score out that price. I expected it to be more sort of 175, 180. So if you can get 190, then that's a good, because Liverpool have their vulnerabilities, and I don't think Leipzig tested that partnership out anywhere near enough in midweek at all. I saw one time
Wolves have scored, by the way, in all but 2 home games as well. So it's not as if they have too many blanks more than you.
I can see them causing this Liverpool defence problems for sure. But if Mane can get back to anywhere near his best, they'll obviously have a bit of a decent time against Wolves as well, because that attempted headed finish against Leipzig in midweek, just a sign of the guy who's massively out of form and massively out of confidence too. So Jota's return is key.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that angle, 1.9. Like I said, Adrian said, as a guide price, this is a Monday night kickoff. There'll be on site at matchbook.com closer to kickoff. Let's do a quick recap just before we get to the latter stages, guys. So what we have is Man United West Ham draw 3.68. Arsenal Spurs BTTS, yes, 1.75. Chelsea 1.78. That seems to be kind of consensus strongest play of the Premier League slate from the guys. Wolves Liverpool BTTS, yes, as well. 1.9. And just a reminder of that offer that I gave at the top of the show. You can check out more details of what I was rambling on about at matchbook.com/promo/insights. But the most important thing of all is, if you are signing up on Matchbook, to use the bonus code INSIGHTS, or else you won't get that offer. All right, EFL time, Adrian Clarke. Take it away. Where are we going this week, mate?
We're going to go to League Two, actually, for both my picks in this little segment. I'm going to start at Carlisle, who entertain Bradford City. Now, Carlisle were high flyers, and they've fallen off a cliff. They're actually rock bottom of the form table at the moment. They scrambled 96-minute equaliser against Grimsby, who are pretty much the worst side in the league at the moment, in midweek at home. Looking at the comments on that performance, they were dreadful. And they come up against a Bradford team that are right near the top of the form table, flying under the new dual management at the club, Truman and Sellers. They slipped up at Newport, quite unlucky in midweek. Interestingly, not played at Rodney Parade. They moved that to Cardiff Stadium, didn't they, for pitch purposes? But yeah, I see a Bradford side that are full of confidence, looking to bounce back, and Carlisle just not with it at the moment. And I've played in teams that have been struggling for form like that, and you just wonder where the next goal is coming from. You go into games feeling edgy, and there's a strong case for an away win. The price is fantastic on Bradford. 3.36 you can get on Bradford to win at Carlisle in this game. But for the purposes of playing it safe and maybe looking to tick that box if we've won this bet, you can get them onside at plus a quarter a goal. Bradford City at 1.87. So it depends which way you want to go. But I think that Bradford have got a great chance of getting a result there. My other pick's a double.
Unders. It's got to be an unders double, yeah?
It's got to be an unders. It's always an unders. Four of the bottom teams face one another this weekend. Well, Stevenage have actually got themselves out of it, but 2 of my former teams, actually, Southend and Stevenage, meet at Roots Hall. Stevenage, I think, have got 5 clean sheets on the bounce. They're involved in an unbelievable amount of low-scoring games. Same with Southend, really. They're not involved in too many goal fests. It's a huge game, particularly for Southend, and it will be tight. Grimsby play Colchester. That's big. Grimsby, in big trouble. Colchester sliding rapidly. Neither side full of goals at the moment. It's going to be nervy, really, really nervy at Blundell Park. Neither team will want to lose this game. If you back them individually at under 2.5, you're looking at the 1.5, 1.6 region. Yeah. Combine them, and it comes out at 2.5. So I'm going to go with a double there. Southend and Stevenage, Grimsby and Colchester, both under 2.5, comes out at 2.5, which I'm definitely going to back. It's up to you guys if you want to follow, but I think there's every chance those matches will be crazy.
I don't need much convincing, mate. Let me tell
Solly's
you.
already backed it.
Okay, exactly. Yeah. I got you. You text me this morning. It's already on, man. Move on, like let's go. Yeah. And I'll be texting you again. I'll be texting you again on Saturday morning just to see if there's any late championship unders. The midweek ones again this week, but just it's terrific. I don't want to talk about it because we didn't do a pod for it, but yeah, it's just a great time to be alive. Mark O'Haire, take us saying that in the middle of a global pandemic, of course. Mark O'Haire, European bets.
Yeah, Bundesliga. I don't want to say it's an open goal, but I did a column recently on Dortmund winning away at Schalke in the derby quite comfortably, and they did. So successfully opposing Schalke on the handicap seems to be the best way to go again this weekend. They're away at Wolfsburg, I should say. A Wolfsburg team who were turned over by Hoffenheim last weekend. That's their first Bundesliga defeat against a team this season that wasn't Bayern Munich or Borussia Dortmund. They played really well actually in that game, created plenty, just didn't get the rub of the green. It happens at times. They're still in a really strong position, still in the top four. Ideal game to get back to winning ways. Unbeaten at home all season. They've won 7 of 10 against the bottom 7, who are more or less kind of the breakaway bottom 7. They're dreadful down there. Anyone else outside the bottom 7 should be beating those teams because they are rubbish. Anyway, they've kept 6 clean sheets in those 10 games. They've won by 2 or more goals in 6 of those 10 games as well. So no reason why they can't do it again against the Schalke team, who everyone knows about the issues afflicting them at the moment. It's culturally, it's coaching, it's structural. Mass changes again a fortnight ago. The first game under new leadership ended in a 0-0 against Mainz in a 6-pointer last Friday night, where they absolutely burgled a point, offered absolutely nothing in attack at all. Really should have lost that game. And they've lost 9 of 9 against the top 6. All 9 of those have been by at least a 2-goal margin. Of their 16 league defeats, 14 have been by at least 2 goals. They've conceded twice or more in 9 of 11 away. And they're basically up against, in my mind, the Bundesliga's most efficient, most organised, one of the best coached teams actually as well, and defensively sound teams. Plus they've got Wout Weghorst up front, who's just scoring goals for fun at the moment. It's just a machine. All-round great striker. He'll move on to bigger and better things too. So Wolfsburg -1.5, trading at even money to beat Schalke this weekend, which really does appeal. And then I'll cross the border quickly to Switzerland. Title race is done and dusted, really. Young boys well out ahead, 19 points ahead, and teams everyone else is basically playing for pride. And Basel, who dominated the division for so long, finished 3rd last season. They're 3rd again, and they're going through a really, really rough spell. 9 defeats in 24 this season, just 1 win in 8 since the end of January, 1 clean sheet since Christmas. And they're hosting a Luzern side who have basically taken on the mantle in Switzerland as the great entertainers. In great form as well at the moment, just 2 defeats since the winter, scoring freely. They've only scored twice all season, averaging just shy of 1.8 goals per game. Were brilliant last weekend to beat St. Gallen 4-2. But unfortunately, the market knows all about their strengths, and they're actually favourites to win away at Basel this weekend, which is really quite surprising, but it shows how far they've come. But goals are the value for me here. Both teams are scores trading at 1.67, but overs at 1.8 I think holds really plenty of appeal. That's my best bet here. Luzern games are averaging 3.5 goals per game. 75% have gone over 2.5, 42% have gone over 3.5, and 79% have seen both teams scoring. Basel at home do tend to score. They've only kept 4 clean sheets in 24 though all season. Their games are full of goals as well. If this game was taking place in Italy this weekend, I'd say over 2.5 goals would be trading at 1.66. But we're in Switzerland's top flight between 2 teams without a huge amount to play for. So I'm expecting quite a good game. So yeah, over 2.5 goals, 1.8.
I was the way you were talking there, I thought that line would be bigger. I thought it'd be 3.5.
Yeah,
yeah, I like that one.
Yeah.
Like it. All right. And yeah, you're Schalke, so bad. It's just so such a big club too. It's just such a well supported club.
It's really sad.
It is, yeah, absolutely.
You want those kind of clubs in the top flight as much as possible. Same thing happened with Hamburg, unfortunately. They took 4 or 5 years before they eventually took the plunge, but Schalke have taken the shortcut, really.
They'll definitely be looking to follow the Stuttgart model, I think, of bouncing back relatively quickly in that one. All right. Adrian Clarke, what's your best bet of the weekend, man?
Well, I think Chelsea's the best bet in the Premier League, but I'm not. I'm going to go with something we haven't spoken about. Just bringing something else to the table.
Yeah, absolutely.
Crew play Burton in League One this weekend, and as soon as I saw the fixture, I was like, low goals, because Crew don't they're not involved in many high-scoring games, particularly at home. Actually, only 35% of their games at home have had more than 2 goals. Burton, under Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, are solid with a capital S. They are much improved. Last 10 Burton games, 7 have gone under 2.5, and the other 3 had 3 goals. Now the line is 2 3/4 here, not 2.5. So 2 3/4 under that 1.833. I'm confident. So Crewe against Burton, low scoring game.
I will say that line has been kind of bet a bit since you've looked. No, there is a small bit of margin, so I'd say it's a bit just for the integrity. I'm going to say it's about 1.74.
Is it? Okay.
Just so you know, so it has been bet already.
A few people have seen that line was a bit.
It wasn't me because you
talking to Adrian.
Yeah, it wasn't me because he didn't tell me about this one. He told me about the other ones. But look, even 2.5 is still 1.91. There is a small bit of margin in that market, so that's why I'm going to just say it's about 1.76. So just in the interest of clarity. So
we'll go with it. I know it's a bit skinnier, but look,
worry about that. That's going to go in so many acres. You have no idea. Don't worry about the skinny part. It'll be fine. It'll be absolutely fine. I like it. Mark O'Haire, weekend best bets. I'm suggesting you probably talked about it already.
Yeah, sorry, I'm a bit boring from my side. I agree with Adrian. Chelsea are the best bet in the Premier League, but my best bet of the weekend is Wolfsburg to cover the handicap against Schalke.
The Königsblumen. I backed them a couple of weeks ago when you gave that Dortmund one as well, and it was an easy watch. It wasn't really much of a worry. Right, guys,
how's is Mustafi? Is this down to Mustafi and Kolasinac, or were they equally dreadful before their arrival?
Kolasinac hasn't been too bad actually. He's made a bit of an impact, but they were both of them were behind the sacking of Christian Gross. They kind of led a bit of a revolt, players' revolt about the coaching methods, and ousted the new manager after a few weeks really. So they've made an impact.
Only been there a couple of weeks themselves. Remarkable.
Yeah. Well, I think the main ringleader that was Huntelaar, and he was on the bench most of the time or sitting in the stand anyway. But he seems to be
just arrived as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it's just like but just definitely stirring up the pot onto their 4th manager this season. Is 4th or 5th manager, Mark, this season?
4th, I think.
Yeah, it seems a long time since David Wagner was there, like at the start of the season. It's just like mad stuff. Right, okay, we're out of time. Hopefully, guys, this week will be if it's a profitable week, it's good. It's probably not going to be as good as last week. That's going to be the outlier there. My thanks to Mark and Adrian as ever. We have one more week next week before the international break, so we'll be back again next Thursday morning. Until then, the best of luck with your bets and take care.